Hi everyone, hope you're well, hope your babies are doing well. Okay, so my weekly life, which I happen to have missed a couple of weeks because I've been preparing for an event I spoke at the weekend, which was absolutely amazing. Loads of baby professionals, midwives, tongue tie specialists, feeding specialists, really excellent. And at the end, I'll talk a little bit about a couple of things that really came out of that weekend about feeding babies. Okay, so please do ask any questions on here. I'd love to answer. And I've just got a few questions that have come up that I'll answer on here. Okay, first one is about probiotics. Probiotics helping your baby. The main focus of a probiotic will be helping your baby's tummy. So colic, wind, lots of little poos, constipation, anything to do with the tummy, the probiotics really do help, I find. The main symptom or the main trigger for definitely using probiotics is antibiotics. So if your baby got antibiotics and the probiotics correct that. So if you think from a natural point of view, you might want the baby to kind of fix itself because we, as naturopaths, we believe that the baby or all people will heal themselves, but they've had antibiotics. So they've had something strong put in that upsets the gut bacteria. So we use probiotics to correct that, and it really helps colic. So I happen to use Optibac for baby drops, and for the mum, I might use Optibac daily. So I do like the Optibac range. I've just used them for ages and I know they work, so I kind of stick to what works. I know that I want to get the good results. Okay. So the question was whether to go in slowly with the drops, and I'd always say yes to this. I'd always use any supplements, go on the safe side and creep in slowly. I actually, with these, I don't do that. These are 8 drops once a day for the baby. They're drops, so you could give direct to the baby. You could put in the bottle, whether it's formula or expressed. The mum can put them on her and the baby feeds them off, so straight into baby or off you. The mum can even take them and breastfeed them through. It all works. I happen to actually just go straight in 8 drops once a day, and I've never really found a problem with that. It's so few that it actually happens to. So if a baby gets maybe a bit more windy with it, then I cut back down to 4 drops and then we creep back up. But I actually start on the max at these, and I've never really seen any issue with that at all. So I think that's absolutely fine to go in. They're really good, especially after antibiotics. It would be the number one thing to use the probiotics for, and just go straight in. Now, when I was at this weekend course with these professionals, one of the questions I got was, how long do you use them for? So I'll tell you the way I figure that out, and this is not really science-based, this is on just what I see in my clinic room. If a baby has had no antibiotics or anything, you might use the probiotics just to help their tummy, just to help the wind a bit, just to help the colic, and you can do that. It's putting beneficial bacteria in and it will help the baby. Now, if a baby, for example, had C-section, and you might use them because of the C-section, because they don't pick the bacteria up so much from the birth canal. So you might use them for that. But you get antibiotics at C-section. So you get antibiotics. So you want to use them after antibiotics. Then maybe mum gets mastitis and the mum gets put on antibiotics. So there's another antibiotics. Some babies have had 3 or 4 lots of antibiotics somehow through the mum. So I tend to think you might be using a bottle each one. If a baby's going to have 1 bottle because they had 1 lot of antibiotics, if a baby's had 3 or 4 lots, does it not seem fair then to give that baby a little bit extra? So that's my ballpark way of deciding how long to go on the antibiotics. And there are videos on this on the Calming Colic YouTube channel, so you can just search how long do I use probiotics for. So how to know when to come off them. So this is how I say to come off them as well. You use 1 bottle, okay? come off them. Try coming off them for a few days. So let's say your baby's having 10 little watery poos a day, okay, and it's really upsetting them, and they're quite painful with all these poos, okay. So if they're doing 10, you give them the probiotics, and then maybe that comes down to like 3 or 4 a day. Baby's happier, okay. When you finish the bottle and you come off them, does that go back up to 10? Does the colic come back? Does the reflux get worse? Do they get worse when you come off them? If you do, then put them back on for another bottle. Do just another bottle which lasts, say, 3 or 4 weeks. Do that again. Then try and come off them again. And just keep trying to come off them. And when you actually come off them and then your baby stays really good, then all good. Then stick with that. Okay, question 2. Can the cranial osteopathy treatment that I'm using, can that help reflux? So yes, if I see babies with reflux, I will still be using the cranial osteopathy. So if you've looked on the website and watched the video at this is what I call my baby birth triad. It's the 3 ways to help a baby, but also the 3 ways that a baby gets worse, things go wrong with a baby. So you've got the physical things go worse, that's the delivery. You've got the tummy stuff, which could be antibiotics, and then you've got the stressy stuff if the delivery was stressy and long or traumatic, or maybe it was really fast. Okay, so we always want to help the babies on those 3 aspects because we're looking at holistically helping the baby. So there's a couple of things that can help reflux. If, for example, your baby is really squished up, like a little frog baby, like this. So I call them a little frog baby, and there's a video on that on the YouTube channel. So this is a little frog baby. Imagine that baby having a belly absolutely full of milk and then being a froggy like this and literally just mechanically squishing the formula out or breast milk out. So they've got reflux, okay, because of this. So the cranial osteopathy, which unwinds the baby, give them more room for the tummy, that's how it can help reflux. That's one of the ways. Now, if the baby has some sort of intolerance or allergy to dairy, for example, and that's the trigger, now the physical craniotomy doesn't help that as much. It might help a little bit, but not fully helping it because you have to exclude the dairy maybe. But unwinding this with cranial osteopathy will help. If you need help finding a cranial osteopath, send me a message. I'll put a message out onto my group of cranial osteopaths and I'll try and find someone local to you. Okay, number 2, what's the biggest thing in adults that triggers reflux and acid reflux and things? It's stress, okay, we know that. So that is through the nervous system causing stress, which causes the stomach to not digest food properly, and you get reflux, okay? Same with babies. Those stressy delivery babies, they have stress in their system, which is shutting down the digestive system, and then they can get a bit of reflux, okay? So another way that the cranial osteopathy can help those babies, because it's calming, super gentle, calming into the nervous system, working down the baby's spine, unwinding the froggy babies or these meerkat babies, these strong neck babies, unwinding them so they're nice and relaxed, okay? When a baby's relaxed, the digestion is better. Relaxation is the side of the nervous system that helps digestion work better. Stressy side shuts digestion down, okay? So we know this as adults. If you're eating and stressed, if you're eating on the run, if you're eating in the car, if you're eating walking, that's when you can get a bit of tummy pain because you haven't digested it properly. If we sit and we're relaxed, we're better. Quite a nice clue to this with a baby is that your baby might be refluxy, but they're not refluxy at night. Okay, so when when they're half asleep, when you're half asleep, when everything's chilled, they feed and they feed well. And they're not refluxy because they're chilled out. So the digestion's working better. The opposite of that might be if you're out and about with friends, if you're out in a coffee shop, you're in a buzzy environment, you know, maybe you feel like a little bit anxious about breastfeeding or feeding in public and that's going on. So you feel a bit anxious, baby's a bit anxious, and then they feed and then they throw it all up. Okay, see if you can see that in your baby. Is relaxation helping them feed better and the stressy bit aggravating it? Such an important thing. if you're stressy, that passes to the baby. They get stressy, then they don't feed as well. So do not forget that you are this dyad unit. Just think of yourself, you and your baby, as one still. They're outside now, but they're still one with you. So if you are stressy about feeding, then the baby can get stressy, and that can cause reflux. Okay, I've seen babies, the reflux hugely improve because the mum has just set herself up to be calm when she's doing the feeding, and then the baby's calm. And just last week there was another bit of research, so I've seen a couple of these, where they took the mum, and the mum did some breathing techniques, some meditation techniques whilst breastfeeding, and the colic in the baby improved. So basically showing that the relaxation from the mum passes to the baby. So the opposite will be true. If you're stressy, the baby can pick that up. Imagine being held by someone that's just a bit stressy and wound up. The baby's going to feel that because they want to be safe and comforted. So I always call this thing tag teaming. If you're super stressed out the baby, pass baby over to a partner, family member, friend, and you must have noticed this as well. You pass them to someone else, they stop crying, and you're like, what the heck, that's my baby, and they've stopped crying with basically not me, and it makes you feel rubbish. It's just because that other person is neutral, they're not taking it on board, so that the stress doesn't pass them. Right, I'm going to read a question. Yeah, okay. So combination feeding, baby had reflux, and she got a chest infection, went on antibiotics. So the big thing there is that antibiotics, I would always correct that with the probiotics. It upsets the gut bacteria. Changing gut bacteria affects colic, reflux, so it can aggravate that. So you want to get the good stuff in. I'll help you with that if you need. Okay, and then check. So I'm going to get on to, let's get on to formulas. Okay, so the next question was, with a sicky baby, change formula or medicate. So there's other things to read into this. With the formula, I would change formula. Okay, I would experiment with the formula. Like I'm pro experimenting with formula. So you as mums always get told all the formulas are the same, so don't bother changing. Okay, they're not the same. If you look at the ingredients, they're in different orders. Okay, what they're the same on is that they keep a baby alive. They feed a baby. They have the correct protein, vitamins and minerals to keep a baby alive. But the ingredients are in different orders and slightly varied. So they are not the same. But what's even better than me saying this and looking at the ingredient sheet is that I have seen babies be transformed, both good and bad, by formula change. I mean, literally a screaming, awful, colicky baby, in a few days be absolutely fine with a formula change. So I know it's worth it. Also, if you change and the baby gets worse, you can still change back. So it's not a permanent thing. Yes, you get a few days of worse, and it takes a couple of days to get out of the system, but you can change backwards and forwards. So I do think it's always worth it. I personally seen loads of parents come in using Kendamil, and they're getting on really well with that. Before that, I was going for hip, and that seemed to be good. And the Kendamil has got goat's milk. Okay, on cow and gate, I always change off cow and gate. Okay, this is a great question. Okay, anti-colic. Okay, I don't use cow and gate or SMA. I go to hip or Kendamil. That's across the board. I always do that. So on normal cow and gate, then tried reflux cow and gate. Okay, I think cow and gate is quite heavy, and I think that causes windy stuff anyway. Anti-reflux formulas are thicker, okay, because they're trying to thicken it up to keep it in the tummy. Okay, if a baby's got a delicate tummy and is having a hard time, do you want to put something in it that's thicker, even harder to digest? So I would very rarely use anti-reflux or hungry baby type formulas because they're thicker. They really tend to aggravate, and you can see that because you get constipation in the baby. So it's like this bit gets better, so you might see a reflux get a bit better, but then down below can get way worse. The wind gets worse. they get constipated, they're not pooing, so they're in grunty, groany, kicky the whole time. If you lay on top of that Gaviscon, which in its own right causes constipation, you can get a baby in tons of pain. Okay, so anti-reflux, hungry baby formula, thicker, Gaviscon, really thicker, so it can really play the babies up. So I would prefer to try the probiotics, see if that fixes it. Some cranial osteopathy to calm the baby down. So that's how I would approach it, and I'd try and avoid the thicker formula. What do you think to colic and constipation formula? I think they're more gentle. So a colic formula, they're usually tweaking it to become more gentle, and the constipation one would be more gentle. So those ones I would think possibly would be good. If you try those and they work, then stick to those. If you try any formula and it works, then of course stick to it. If you move from hip to cow and gate gate's better for your baby, then yeah, I'm not going to fiddle with that. But if you think there's something going on with the formula, then I would. So then that leads me on to, if your baby's had loads of antibiotics and you're fiddling and you think it's the formula, so you're fiddling with the formula, I would go antibiotics first. I would look at helping those with the probiotics and then look at the formula afterwards, because the antibiotics upset the gut bacteria to trigger wind, and then you're just changing formulas, but you haven't actually got to the cause, which could be the antibiotics changing the gut bacteria. So I would use the probiotics. So that's about changing to a reduced lactose formula. I've seen that help as well. So and in this case it hasn't, and you're getting wins. Now this is really interesting because I've seen babies who come back from the GP and they've been changed to the proper medicated type formulas where they're hydrolyzed. So, you know, these ones they have to order in for cow's milk protein allergy. So those specialist formulas, and the baby's been loads and loads worse. So it's you can, there's never one answer. This is the thing with babies, they're totally random. Something that helps one doesn't help a baby. So that's the whole point of my approach. It's holistic. Each baby's different. So, you know, in the course online, it's helping you, you know, videos for everything, and you pick out the ones that help for your baby. So that's on calmingcolic.com. So I would use the probiotics because we're trying to fix the root cause. You know, if you think changing these formulas is like a little bit more superficial, if it's the antibiotics that were the original trigger. So get the probiotics in, especially if there was antibiotics, especially if that's been the trigger. So you can get so confused with changing all these formulas when really you want to get right into the root cause and get the gut bacteria balanced correctly. But don't forget, you can ask me questions, and in the online course I kind of go through all of that. There's a video for each of those. So that's a yes for the probiotics there. Anti-colic, yeah, I think the anti-colic ones would be better, but I would try hip or Kendamil, and then the Kendamil goat's milk. I've used goat's milk loads before, and there's Nanny Care, now there's Kendamil, and that can be absolutely amazing as well. Your baby can be transformed on that. Now it's a bit thinner, so this is the only thing. And as the baby gets used to it, they can get a little bit of reflux just because it's thinner and coming up easier. But remember, you want to be holistic. So if we're looking at the my holistic way of looking at the baby, your formulas are on the tummy section. So this is the antibiotics, probiotics helping, changing formula. That's all the tummy section. Or if you're a mum, maybe looking at the foods you're eating, that's on that section, but you want to address your baby on the physical section with maybe some help, some cranial osteopathy, and on the stress section, which would again be cranial osteopathy, calming them down, but also this deep breathing, this meditation whilst you're feeding them, and they're picking that up and calming down. That's super amazing. You can do that at your next feed. Again, there's a video on that on the YouTube channel. Yes, fantastic. I've seen a mum this week. So talking to a mum this week, and the baby's having 10 or 12 little sharty, watery poos a day, that's an antibiotic tummy baby. But the mum actually had this really wonderful birth. I think at home, waterbed, but kind of exactly what she was after. So I'm like, this is strange because it sounds like the baby's had antibiotics. So as I asked and we got a bit deeper, the mum had had antibiotics quite recently while she was pregnant. Okay, and this is the question. So yes, I do think that. And then at the weekend, we had a great talk from one of the experts in the gut bacteria, the microbiome, and it actually came up about the microbiome, the baby's gut bacteria starting to develop inside the mum. Okay, so that it was often thought that the baby's gut bacteria was sterile and it picked it all up from the birth canal. But I've read some research that the gut bacteria starts in mummy's tummy. Okay, so it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, gut bacteria is so tiny, it's everywhere, and that baby's inside you in the amniotic fluid. I just think there's got to be good bacteria. So remember, the bacteria in the baby comes from you. So you've got to have good bacteria. So it'd be interesting, I'll ask you, why did you have the antibiotics in pregnancy? The most common reason I usually hear is that the mum's got tooth infection, sinus infection, ear infection, something like that. So they've had antibiotics for often what's a tooth infection or something, and I think that then affects the baby. The probiotics are like super safe. If anything, they give baby occasionally a bit more wind, and we cut back on that. So if you've had that, then I would anyway. But here's another reason: you had antibiotics. That baby's going to pick the good, the friendly bacteria up from you. So if you're breastfeeding, but you had antibiotics in pregnancy, then your gut bacteria has been knocked by those antibiotics, but you're meant to be feeding the good bacteria to your baby when the baby's born. Yeah, okay. So this mum was told that the antibiotics wouldn't affect and the probiotics wouldn't be worth it. Well, it'd be amazing if you did the probiotics and saw how your baby was and then let me know how you get on. But for me, that's 100% kind of red flag. You take the probiotics, because as I was saying, you're passing those across breastfeeding, but it's all over you when you're kissing them, when you're holding them, skin to skin, it's everywhere. So you've got to have all the good stuff in you to pass to your baby. So I think that's a really good thing to do. Okay, fantastic. I think if there's any more questions from anyone, but I think we've covered, I think it's ended up covering about probiotics and breastfeeding. Let's try and summarise a bit. So treat your baby, I always look at the babies holistically, and that my online course, colic.com, that looks holistically at your baby, so it's in sections. You look at the baby birth types, like how your delivery affects your baby and what you need to do with that. Yeah, okay. I'll answer this. Do you recommend sticking to one way of feeding your baby to help? No, I see babies. I have mums that come in that are full breastfeeding. They are breastfeeding, formula feeding, expressing. They're using a dummy. Like I don't particularly get involved in that with the mum. As in, not obviously telling a mum how to feed their baby. The mum comes in and says I'm doing that, and I'm fixing the baby. I'm trying to help the baby. Obviously help the health of the mum with how she's eating maybe, so looking holistically. But I think that's fine if you're sort of combo feeding and that's just how it is and that's comfortable. So I see everything. This is going to be obvious to you. You know, if you're having an absolutely miserable time breastfeeding, then we want to help the baby to feed better, or and see someone to help. But if you've got to put the formula in to make yourself happier, then that's absolutely fine. The one thing I do say is, if a mum's brought their baby to me and says, it's awful, I'm in so much pain, I'm miserable, I might say, look, and they really want to stick to the breastfeeding, I might say, look, give me the chance of seeing your baby 3 or 4 times for treatment. If you can feed that a bit longer, for a couple of weeks longer, hopefully your baby's going to get better and better and better after the treatment, and then it might be good. So so I have that discussion with the mum. Also, if the feeding's really, really painful because the baby's really, really snacky, the dummy can be really good. So, and it's my one thing that I think I've seen it help breastfeeding so much that if the mum's so painful, she's going to give up, but then you use the dummy to get, I don't know, 3 hours between a feed or whatever it might be for your baby, then that rescues the feeding. But at the same time as that advice, I'm working with the baby to calm the baby down. If the baby has had a really traumatic delivery and they are just all over the place, they can't settle, and they're pulling off you, this meerkat baby, the baby's pulling away from you, they're ratty, they're buzzy, they're jumpy. If the baby's like that, they're super hard to breastfeed. So what we're now doing is we're calming the baby down so they can settle and feed better. If the baby's having 10 poos a day because they had antibiotics, then they're uncomfortable all the time. So you're trying to feed a baby, it's got tummy pain from colic or reflux or pooing 10 times a day, that baby doesn't breastfeed well. So it's not you, there's nothing wrong with you as the mum, nothing this, you know, like mums tell me, I've got this side works, this side doesn't. So often the baby needs to settle better to help you breastfeed. So that's what I would be doing. So watch my little meerkat baby. If you've got a baby with a strong neck, watch the meerkat babies on the Calming Colic or the YouTube channel, and you'll see there's one called the hardest baby to breastfeed if you're having breastfeeding problems. So if you look at this baby here and this baby's looking to the right, lots of babies are fixed like this. So when you come to feed this baby on your right side, the baby's looking away from you, looking the wrong direction. So you might go, oh, I'm awful at feeding on this side doesn't work, you know, like I haven't got enough supply, or I've got too much, or it's cracked nipples on this side or something, and you're saying I'm not very good. It's not you. Have a look at this. The baby is not facing the right direction. You'd have to put your baby upside down to get them on here, okay? So now watch. Go to the other side. Baby is facing you. So your baby feeds this side, not this side. So just consider that then, that if you are having breastfeeding issues, it's not you, it's not your right side or your left side. Have a look at your baby. Are they facing one direction? Could be the other way, but it's often the right, and then they're facing away. So does that make sense to anyone? That have a look at your baby like this. Now I've mentioned it, you'll see it, and then you'll see why you got a good side, bad side. And obviously go and see all the wonderful breastfeeding or feeding help specialists out there to help the latch and things. But the latch isn't going to be very good if your baby can't even face the right direction, can it? So another bit of another side on breastfeeding. So look at your baby holistically. Watch the video on the baby birth types. There's a few of those. calmingcolic.com. The course is in there. My book's in there, which is like £6, a PDF download, and all of these videos, like 100 videos, all split down, really easy, big sections, you know, like, did you have a C-section? Watch those ones. Did you have antibiotics? Watch those ones. I've made it as easy as possible. You can just go out and select the videos you need. I hope this helps. Tell your friends that I'll do this, and follow the page, and then I'll be doing these weekly when I've got slots between babies that I'm treating. Right, have a wonderful day, and yeah, I hope your baby's really well, and thank you very much. And yeah, ask me any questions on here, and then maybe I'll put them in the next live. I get asked the same questions, so it's brilliant. So just chuck all your questions at me, because they've been asked before. I've probably done a video on them already, but I can then do these Q&As and then answer a load of questions at the same time, which is much, much easier for you. Brilliant. Have a wonderful day.